What the flick, everybody? Matt Atchity, Alonso Duralde, Christy Lemire, Ben Mankiewicz, Ben Affleck is like a poster child for how to fix your career.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't admire that more. And it turns out he is a heck of a filmmaker.
Argo is the story about a seemingly ridiculous plot to get some diplomats out of Iran during the Iran hostage crisis in the 70s. And it involves making a fake movie, coming up with a fictional movie to pretend that they were Canadian filmmakers to sneak them back out.
Right.
What happened? 6 of the hostages went out a back exit.
Where are they? The Canadian ambassador's house.
You got Revolutionary Guards going door to door. These people die. They die badly. White House, who wants the 6 of them out?
And it's true, by the way. Did we mention this is a true story?
Yes.
Yeah, it would have to be, because otherwise you'd never buy it.
There is some discussion about whether the creative license that Ben Affleck took diminished the story at all.
They tweaked the ending a little bit.
They tweaked the ending. They added some drama. There's one whole scene walking through the bazaar in Tehran that didn't actually happen. But I don't think it makes any difference, because the essence of sending a CIA guy in to get out 6 hostages housed with Canadian diplomats, that's completely true. It was incredibly tense then. It looks incredibly tense on screen.
It's weird. I mean, I wasn't hung up necessarily on what was true and what wasn't true, although I have to say, watching the movie, so much of it felt so weirdly true, like this has to be true because it's too nuts for anybody to make it up, that when the movie falls back on more traditional, like when they're getting through the airport at the end and there's all the little moments of suspense and are they gonna, I remember thinking, okay, I don't know if this happened or not, but this doesn't ring as true as the previous stuff. And I've since found out that actually it didn't. They sailed through the airport. It was no problem.
Well, I don't think we're giving anything away, because it's true. They got away.
They got away. It's like Apollo 13. We know how it ends.
Right. So there's a scene at the end where the Iranian Revolutionary Guards are literally like chasing the plane down the tarmac, and you're exactly right. I thought, no. Not that one. But the fact is, it was real. They didn't quite sail through at the airport. It was incredibly tense at the airport. And in fact, one guy in reality was the guy who was so nervous about being engaged in this in the first place. He kept using everybody's real name, and they'd be like.
At that point, you were so completely on board, no pun intended, that it's so great. I love this movie. I love the fact that you have these elements that in theory should not work together, right? It is this incredibly tense international drama. It is this wacky inside Hollywood comedy. I mean, all these things that would seem to clang in the transition, and he does it beautifully. And he's good at it too, we should say. Ben Affleck is in it. This is probably the best performance of Ben Affleck's career, yes?
I'm not going to go that far.
He's good at it.
He's very good.
He's great, but it's not.
It's not a showy role.
It's not a very showy role. He doesn't have that many lines, even.
Someone has to be the strong, stoic
he's like Mark Wahlberg in The Fighter, where it's his project, and he sort of casts himself as sort of the island around which all this other nuttiness happens.
I love John Goodman and Alan Arkin in it. They were
Yes.
One of the things I liked in this too was that it's a very tense movie and very exciting, but I felt like there was no obvious villain. Like there wasn't one particular standout. I mean, it's all
the
just
Ayatollah.
but even then, like the way the movie opens, talking about the history in Iran, and you get this like almost subversive feel, like, yeah, you know what, we fucked that up. Like, yeah, of course they were pissed. Yeah, no wonder, right? Like it puts it in context.
It's a very nice little nugget of context.
And as I was watching this and watching how the Iranians were portrayed, and just knowing the history of how that went down, I thought, God, it felt so restrained compared to the way things happen now in the Middle East.
It's a nice moment too, if you care about presidential history, and there's a nice shout out there, and it's slightly out of context, but ultimately correct, to Jimmy Carter, who did a great thing, and couldn't talk about it. And to the Canadian ambassador, who played by Victor Garber, Ken Taylor, who also risked his life and the life of his family to save these people.
It is a real testament to, Carter gets a really bad rap a lot of times as far as our contemporary presidents. But this is a movie that in a very subtle way is kind of saying, you know what, maybe going to war isn't always the answer. Sometimes there's a smart approach where you do this thing and nobody gets hurt and you accomplish your goals and you don't sink us into some crazy quagmire.
What
in
a
the Middle
huge
East.
pussy you are. Kill him! Jesus.
That's what I got out
Yeah,
of it.
but from the context they put the revolution into the beginning to the whole way the thing is handled, it is handled sort of subtly and deftly and smartly, and then has this huge building drama throughout. So
And the fact that Ben Affleck will take on this huge story after Gone Baby Gone in the town, which were very small and intimate, and in a
And
place
good,
he knows
right?
and good, but in a place he knows very, very well. Like I was just wowed at how well he could pull that off.
all right, so let's give some numbers on it.
Da 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 da! I'm giving it a 10. I like things sometimes.
From Warner Brothers, even.
From Warner.
I went 8.
What did I tell you?
You did 9.3.
9.3. Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't give it a 10. I give it a 9.8. But it's basically
you
a
can
10.
embrace the 10. You can
It's
still
all right.
do
I'm gonna
it.
stick with
There's no
9.8.
shame.
But we're overall
Right.
we're at 9.3 on it. So
And the tomato meter is very high. It's 95%.
it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's an Oscar nomination, certainly, and I'm sure there'll be.
Affleck did have a perfect record of 94% for all of his movies, but this one,
He has found his calling.
he's somehow gotten up a little bit.
The Clooney produced it, and it seems to me that like 10 years ago, Clooney produced it with him. But 10 years ago, that Clooney would have been in it. Clooney would have played Tony Mendez, although
Sure.
he
Or
was-
directed it.
Or
Yeah,
both.
both.
Yeah, right.